Welcome back to Get Fit Guy. Coach Kevin Dunn here. This week, I'm going to take a look at another fitness fad and see if I can perhaps unearth some usefulness in it, or see if the only usefulness will come from telling you all to give it a massive body swerve. We're going to do a deep dive into structured water, also known as hexagonal water. As always, let's just start with a quick definition of what this is. For that, we'll turn to a manufacturer of a device that claims to help you create structured water. Make sure you get your pseudoscience dictionary at the ready. Structured water is vibrationally repaired water, bringing it back to its natural frequency state. This is where all the water molecules are arranged in a vibrating hexagonal grid. It combines 3 atoms of hydrogen with 2 of oxygen, creating H3O2. Here are the supposed benefits of this structured water. Firstly, increased cellular recovery because structured water doesn't have to be processed by your body. It's fully available in its vibrating hexagonal state, increasing energy and endurance. Secondly, increased detoxification. Structured water will dissipate any dissonant frequencies to move your body into a healthy and harmonious state. Thirdly, it will balance your metabolism with increased organ activity and resilience, just being 2 more of the benefits of structured water. And finally, increased bioavailability. Water is most resonant in a hexagonal state, and this increases the efficacy of minerals due to its vibrational state. Now, that is an awful lot of vibrating. In order to get the benefits of structured water, you can either follow a DIY method or buy a water structuring device. The DIY method is pretty simple. You just take some gemstones, doesn't say what kind, and place them in your water container. Now, it's here that I just needed to take a little break there from writing this week's episode to have a lie down and recover from just how hard I was laughing. Luckily, I think that some structured water can help my recovery time. Okay, so now I've just about gathered myself, we'll move on to the water structuring device. Apparently this $1,300 device, or $2,700 if you want the one that plugs directly into your home water supply, will vortex your water into a double helix shape. No doubt this helps your DNA. And will create a high energy field with pi ratio geometric construction and healing pyramid energies. Now, if you didn't already think use of words like vibration, frequency, pyramid, and geometric were red flags, let's have a look at what the information says from sources that do not sell water structuring devices and are not from personal trainers that do not have a discount code for you buying such devices. Well, first up, the American Federal Trade Commission and Food and Drug Administration have both warned against consumers being persuaded by scientific-sounding terms being used to essentially hoodwink people. And that's exactly what's going on here. None of this is based on any science whatsoever. Now, my research does tell me that vortex induction can align water molecules into water clusters. However, the hydrogen bonds formed are very weak and last only a very short period of time. How short? Well, less than 200 femtoseconds. For context, a femtosecond is a millionth of a billionth of a second. So the idea that the water would still be structured in any way by the time it reaches your cells is, well, it's flat out wrong, isn't it? Next, I want to have a look at the claim that this vortex, or dropping a few quartz crystals into a water jug, will somehow turn H2O into H3O2. So, actually, my best friend is a Cambridge University chemistry graduate. And I also read a study on this, which is linked in the show notes. The study says, no evidence has been found for the existence of the stable compound H3O2 in an aqueous solution. According to my Cambridge friend, you can't make that because oxygen is divalent, it makes 2 bonds, and hydrogen is monovalent, so this doesn't work. Sounds like they're confused with the structure water takes when ice forms. You have weak polar bonding to a hydrogen atom in another molecule, but it is not H3O2. Now, often when I look into things like this, it's just a jumble of words that sound reasonable if you don't understand any of the core principles. It's like someone who doesn't understand sports at all being told, hey, did you see the game last night? The Eagles scored a home run touchdown just before a hole-in-one to love at the playoff World Cup. All of these words on their own are indeed relevant to sport and may sound to someone with no sports knowledge like they've missed a great game. Unfortunately, it's actually just a jumble of words, the same as structured water. Hard pass. And after this week's shock revelation that people with a discount code might be recommending interventions that do absolutely nothing of benefit to you, let's move on to a listener email. Hi, Kevin. Love the show. Always heard the slogan, muscle weighs more than fat. But I have a question about that. I'm pushing 70. I spent most of my life overweight. A few years ago, I decided I didn't want to be old and fat. So I started by drastically changing/studying my eating habits. Don't worry, no fad diets involved. I did very little light exercise and began losing weight. After I'd gotten my weight down some, I began folding tougher and longer exercise into my schedule whilst doing it more often, and eventually dropped some 70-odd pounds, bringing my weight down to about 148, where it stayed for some time. I exercise between 30 and 60 minutes per day, alternating between resistance, free weights, and cardio, usually boxing exercise programs, with usually 1 day per week off where I go take care of chores like shopping instead to rest up a little. Doing chores isn't a rest. Resting is a rest. Now, here's my question. Over the last several months, my weight has slowly crept up to 152, 153, fluctuating daily. Things seem to have leveled out here for now, and it's not enough to get me greatly concerned, but I had a certain amount of pride in getting down to 148 and periodically briefly lower. I would love to stabilize at that again, but this new weight seems very reluctant to come off regardless of what I do. How do I know if the weight I'm adding is muscle or flab? I've noticed some changes in my body over time, particularly improvements in my chest and shoulders, but I haven't experienced a lot of impressive muscle growth, which I presumed to be partly a product of the decline of testosterone at my age, so it's hard to draw any conclusions. Should I simply keep up with what I'm doing, not be concerned with my weight as long as there's no steady or rapid increase? Thank you, Stephen from Henderson, Nevada. I have to say, I love it when people email me and they tell me where they're from because, well, it's just interesting, isn't it, to see or hear about all the different places that people are listening to me from. So, hi, Stephen from Henderson, Nevada. That is a beautiful part of the world. I've passed through Henderson a few times on my way to one of my favorite places, Boulder City, Nevada. There is a great little breakfast cafe there, and of course, all the beautiful antique stores, and of course, the Hoover Dam itself really needs no justification to visit it. Awe-inspiring. So first of all, I don't think you should be weighing yourself every day. If you were my client, I would come and get your weighing scale and throw it into Lake Mead. If you really want to weigh yourself, you've got to knock it back to once a week because everyone's weight fluctuates daily. You've got water intake, changes in weather, salt intake, and so on. So forget about doing that. But it's really, really great to hear you lost 70 pounds. That's definitely not an easy task. So well done. But I try not to frame, getting to 148 as your ultimate achievement because it's really just arbitrary, right? It may have been the lowest number, but that doesn't mean that 147 or 145 is any better from a health perspective. We can 100% say that losing 70 pounds was good for your health and longevity, but now that you have, we need to have other markers than just your weight. Blood work, for example, could show you some interesting metrics, which if you did decide to do, an endocrinologist will explain a lot better than I. And a DEXA scan, for example, will show you metrics that your bathroom scale cannot, such as bone and muscle mass and how much fat's around your organs and under the skin. And sadly, this kind of scan is really the only way to know if you are gaining muscle or fat, aside from the eyeball test. And that really only works if changes are super obvious. Now, you said you haven't noticed any impressive muscle growth, but given that you're pushing 70, I'd say that muscle growth in itself was impressive. So my advice would be go get a DEXA scan, see what your body composition really is, then go train as normal and forget all about the scan and go have another one 6 months. Then you'll know what changes you need to make. Sounds like you're self-aware enough around training because you've done a great job losing so much weight, and it's quite normal for individuals who have lost a lot of weight to develop this kind of fear, phobia around gaining it back or becoming fat again. That's not going to happen. The fact that you've emailed me to ask me a question about having gained just a couple of pounds is evident enough that you are on top of things. Keep it going. If you have a training question, are looking forward to individual training program design, or just want to say hi, head over to the Get Fit Guy Facebook page or send me an email at getfitguy@quickanddirtytips.com. Get Fit Guy is a quick and dirty tips podcast thanks to the team at Quick and Dirty Tips, Adam Cecil, Morgan Christensen, Holly Hutchings, and Davina Tomlin. I'm your host, Kevin Don. If you have a question for me, send me a voicemail, 510-353-3104. Send me an email, getfitguy@quickanddirtytips.com. Or for more information about the show, visit quickanddirtytips.com or check out the show notes in your podcast app. Have a nice week.